2, 1. So I just wrapped up my history series going season by season, looking at how the Ontario Hockey League has grown since it got its start back in the 1980-81 season. And now it's a chance to look forward, as we learned during the 2024-25 campaign that the Ontario Hockey League is looking at aggressive expansion plans. That's what was reported back in December after we learned that two teams were ready to move from the USHL to the Ontario Hockey League, but they faced a roadblock with USA Hockey, and we'll get to that in a few moments, as I feel as those are the most likely candidates for early expansion with the Ontario Hockey League. But I feel as though there are up to 7 candidates that could be considered for the Ontario Hockey League. We'll go over why they could work or what's maybe holding them back during this video, but I did this a year ago, talking about how the Ontario Hockey League looked primed for expansion or even relocation candidates. So this time, we're just going to focus on potential expansion candidates and where we stand on all 7 of these options. Starting off with Youngstown and Muskegon. We last heard in January that both the Phantoms and Lumberjacks signed an agreement to play out of the USHL for the 25-26 campaign after it came to light that those two teams approached the Ontario Hockey League about a year ago about making the move to the Canadian Hockey League after the NCAA vote to allow CHL players to go the college route. And we've been seeing how everything is kind of in flux. Players have been signing commitments to go to the NCAA. We now have more US-born players signing contracts to play in the Canadian Hockey League. So the USHL, they've been on rocky waters of late. And for the Youngstown Phantoms and Muskegon Lumberjacks, they were the first 2 teams to announce that they'd like to move over to the Ontario Hockey League. So USA Hockey blocked the plan for the 2 teams to join the Ontario Hockey League at the time. And for both Youngstown and Muskegon, they've now hired Jeffrey Kessler, who's a renowned sports litigator, and he's advising the 2 teams as they navigate the situation. So I would imagine that over the course of the 25-26 campaign, we will get an update as to whether or not Youngstown and Muskegon will join the Ontario Hockey League in the near future. It all depends on the courts. So we should get some clarity soon, but those are the 2 most likely teams to be added for expansion for the Ontario Hockey League. For Youngstown, that would be the first team in the state of Ohio for the Ontario Hockey League. And when you break it down, the city has a population over 59,000. So that would actually put Youngstown ahead of North Bay, which has 57,000 as a population. Saginaw has 43,000, and Owen Sound with 22,000. So it's not one of the bigger markets if it were to join the Ontario Hockey League. This is just for the city itself, not including the population centers around Youngstown, because of course they would draw from those markets as well, just focusing on Youngstown itself. Now the Phantoms, they play out of the Covelli Center, which has 5,200 seats. It opened in 2005. So this is a newer arena within that 20-year range. We're not talking about replacing those arenas at this point, unlike the National Hockey League. But to the Phantoms, a team that could be added in the near future. And I've seen some people talk about how attendance has been a bit of an issue for the Youngstown Phantoms over the years. I'm not sure if that would improve or not if they were to join the Ontario Hockey League, because I'm not too familiar with the USHL. I'm going to be honest and upfront about that. But it is a candidate that the Ontario Hockey League has already said they'd be willing to add. It's just USA Hockey got in the way and didn't approve the move to join the Ontario Hockey League. As for Muskegon, this would actually be the 3rd franchise to be based out of Michigan if the expansion were to take place. The city has a population of 37,000, so that would actually make it the 2nd smallest community in the Ontario Hockey League, only ahead of the Owen Sound Attack at 22,000. The Lumberjacks, they play out of the Trinity Health Arena with a capacity of 4,000, so that's pretty average for junior hockey, and it opened in 1960, so it would be one of the oldest facilities in the Ontario Hockey League if they were to add the Muskegon Lumberjacks. The only arenas that are older than the arena in Muskegon would be the Odd in Kitchener, which was built in 1950, the Sudbury Community Arena, built in 1951, Memorial Gardens in North Bay, built in 1955, and the Peterborough Memorial Center in 1956. But we already know that the Sudbury Community Arena is being replaced, or at least that's the plans right now, and there's also talks about replacing the Peterborough Memorial Center. So will the Muskegon Arena have to be upgraded to be ready for the Ontario Hockey League? I've seen some photos from the arena, and it looks like it could host an OHL team tomorrow if they wanted to, but we'll have to wait and see on that front. So Youngstown and Muskegon, probably the most likely locations for the OHL to expand, depending on the court ruling and whether or not USA Hockey will approve that move or not going forward. So we should hear an update in regards to that during the 25-26 OHL season. Most likely they'll want to have that announced before January, because that's when they start to put the schedule together for the following season. And we've seen it in the past where the OHL, when it comes to relocations at least, they want to know what the team's plans are before the new year. And if they're going to be adding these two teams, say for the 26-27 season, we'll probably know that before the end of the year, probably around Christmas or just past Christmas is when we'll find out. So that those two communities, the most likely to be added for expansion for the Ontario Hockey League. And that's where it stands right now. Next on my list, I have Niagara Falls, New York. The city's been involved in a long-standing land battle with a developer. The battle is over this small piece of parkland located near downtown Niagara Falls, and the debate is actually over who owns it. It goes back at least 20 years. It's been going back and forth. They're saying some paperwork wasn't finalized at the time where it was handed over to a developer, so Niagara Falls claims they still own it. The state has actually sided with the city of Niagara Falls, as Mayor Robert Rustiano, he wants to build Centennial Park. This is his vision for downtown Niagara Falls. It's a $200 million facility, which would seat 5,000 people for hockey. Niagara Falls redevelopments, though, they want to build a data center. So it comes down to one developer wants to bring jobs to the city of Niagara Falls, and the other is looking at potential growth as maybe an entertainment district for Niagara Falls going forward, trying to rehabilitate downtown of Niagara Falls. We did learn last season that the mayor has had talks with the Ontario Hockey League, as they would need a main tenant if they were to move forward with this Centennial project. So the OHL already being discussed as maybe being a league that could be home to Niagara Falls, be it expansion or relocation. I would think with the way the OHL set right now, expansion would be that result. So I know for a lot of OHL fans, they don't want to see more teams in the United States, but it does seem likely that the OHL, when they do their original expansion here, they will be adding at least one American team. They have been looking at New York State for a long time as a possibility for a team, but it just hasn't fit. You can't really go into Rochester. The Americans are well established there. Buffalo doesn't really have a junior-sized arena, but this project in Niagara Falls seems to be the best bet if the OHL is in fact going to have a team in New York State. Plus, it's not far from St. Catharines, so you have that natural fit between the Niagara Ice Dogs and this future team in Niagara Falls, if in fact an expansion team would be granted. Niagara Falls, they have a population of over 47,000, so bigger than Saginaw and Owen Sound, but they would, of course, have a larger catchment area. So I'm not including Niagara Falls, Ontario, which is right across the border, or other communities around Niagara Falls. So 47,000 is what's listed for the city itself. And Niagara Falls does have some junior hockey history. They hosted the Niagara Falls Sharks from 1974 to 1979, and they were playing in the New York Penn Major Junior Hockey League. So maybe if we get an expansion team in Niagara Falls, you bring back the Sharks name. I don't know if they'd actually do that, but Niagara Falls Sharks, it's got a nice ring to it. Next on the list, I don't think this is going to surprise anyone, Cornwall, Ontario. With talks of the aggressive expansion plans, Cornwall's mayor, Justin Toundle, has openly spoken about the OHL making a return to his city. They haven't had a team since 1992. That's when the Cornwall Royals relocated to Newmarket to become the Royals. And of course, now they're the Sarnia Sting. That's the lineage for the Cornwall Royals. Back in 2000, there was talks that the Owen Sound Platers were on the verge of moving to Cornwall. We also know that the Mississauga Ice Dogs were discussed as potentially relocating to Cornwall. And most recently, when the Hamilton Bulldogs were looking for a temporary location with the renovations at the First Ontario Centre, Cornwall was one of the communities being considered for relocation. So it feels as though Cornwall is that city right now that's used as a bartering chip, as potentially, okay, if we don't get what we want, we're going to be relocating to this city. Or if teams on the market, automatically people start to think, hey, we're going to connect the dots, and Cornwall could be an easy fit. So the mayor of Cornwall already speaking out. We don't know if there's actually been official talks between the city of Cornwall and the Ontario Hockey League, like what's been happening with Niagara Falls. The Ed Lumley Arena, it was built in 1976. It's undergone several upgrades recently, including new seats. They replaced all the seats. They have a new scoreboard. And Towndale says the next thing to replace is the lighting. So Cornwall looks like a place ready for the Ontario Hockey League. They've been hosting several preseason games over the years, so as a neutral site game. But Cornwall, I think, would kind of fill that void in Eastern Ontario since the Belleville Bulls left. Because when you look at the map, you've got the Ottawa 67s, the Kingston Frontenacs, and then you have to travel all the way to Oshawa, Peterborough. So it would help with realignment, because Brantford being in the East Division still seems pretty strange. But you could put a team in Cornwall that would help with road trips for teams coming from the Western Conference. You would also have shorter distances for travel for Ottawa and Kingston. So I feel like this would be a great fit, a natural fit for Eastern Ontario. Cornwall, of course, they have a population of 46,000, so it's above current markets like Saginaw and Owen Sound. But we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out, because you also need a local business owner with deep pockets who'd be willing to purchase a team or have the expansion rights. And then you have to hope this owner is able to maintain that to keep a team going in the city of Cornwall. Next on the list, Burlington, Ontario. Now, with the Bulldogs, they are now playing in Brantford long-term. They just signed that 15-year lease agreement. That means the Hamilton area, once again, does not have an OHL franchise. And the newly named TD Coliseum in downtown Hamilton, it's expected to be home to an AHL team in the future. So the looks of the OHL returning to the Hammer, very unlikely. And that leaves Burlington as a potential landing spot for a future OHL team. City Council, a year ago, they were presented with the 1200 King Road development plan located near the 403 and the Aldershot GO station. So the plan is for about 10,000 residential units and an entertainment district with a 5,000-seat arena. This is the proposal. It's already gone before Burlington City Council. The last update we heard is that there was some discussions, some public input meetings with residents, and the last thing, too, is that there was a closed-door meeting with Burlington City Council. Right now, the land is under appeal at the Ontario Land Tribunal, so that's kind of hindering things a little bit right now. It's in the courts, so we'll have to wait and see where this development goes. And this development, valued at $6 billion. So this is a huge project. This will likely take some time before we see shovels in the ground, but it's housing, the entertainment district. They've also approached Mohawk College to maybe have a campus in Burlington at the site. So this is a long-term plan, and this is why I have Burlington at number 4 for potential expansion for the OHL, is this would be a team maybe 5-7 years down the road. It's going to take time for this arena to be built, but there's been no official conversations, to my knowledge, right now between the OHL and the city of Burlington. Again, like Cornwall, you would need an owner to be able to afford to have this team play. But Burlington would fit in quite nicely. They have a population of 162,000 on its own. That would make it the 6th highest populated city out of the current OHL teams, behind Ottawa, Brampton, London, Windsor, and Kitchener. So Burlington looks like it could be a good fit. It's just how long until that Ontario Land Tribunal situation is ratified. And then, of course, Burlington City Council has to approve the project, and then you get the shovels in the ground. It's going to be time, but a new arena in Burlington, 5,000 seats, it's got a lot of potential here. So that could be a team down the road, even as maybe relocation. I'll have to wait and see. Now, 5th on my list, Thunder Bay, Ontario. Last time I put this together, a lot of people called me out for not including Thunder Bay as an expansion candidate. And I still believe Thunder Bay would be a long shot for getting the Ontario Hockey League. But with the QMJHL returning to Newfoundland with the regiment, this is where I think Thunder Bay fans could maybe be a little excited about the OHL, considering expansion to their city. The regiment, they're going to be covering the cost of their opponents' flights along with their own travel at the owner's expense. But what's really fascinating with this model is they have 11 business owners who've come together and have made a commitment that they want to see this work. They want junior hockey in the province of Newfoundland, playing out of St. John's. So they're going to have their deep pockets, cover the cost of the teams to fly into St. John's to play the regiment. So this is an expensive plan, but if this works where they get the fan support and they can cover those expenses, maybe this is going to be a long-term solution for the regiment to stay in Newfoundland. And if that's the case, Thunder Bay would have to look at a very similar model, as teams would have to fly into Thunder Bay if they're going to get an OHL team. So it's a possibility, and that's why I'm listing Thunder Bay on this expansions list. I think that it's still a long shot, but if Newfoundland can work, why not Thunder Bay? So Thunder Bay, they have a population of over 109,000. That would put them 11th out of the current 20 teams when it comes to population. They also have the Fort William Gardens, which can hold 4,600 fans, and right now hosts the Lakehead Thunderwolves. So the potential, I think, is there for Thunder Bay, but I think this is going to be a longer process than, say, Burlington, for example, where they know that travel's not going to be a problem for Burlington or even Cornwall. I think there's a lot of work that would have to be done if Thunder Bay were to be considered as an expansion city for the future of the Ontario Hockey League. Now, some more unlikely candidates for expansion: ChathamKent. A lot of people talk about Chatham as a potential city that could host the OHL in the future. They need a new arena. The arena they have now, it's aging. It does not meet current OHL standards. They were almost the team that landed the Plymouth Whalers when they were looking to move. They ended up in the Flint Firebirds. But Chatham, if City Council could work things out and build a new arena, I think Chatham would move near the top of expansion. But right now, no talks of a new arena in Chatham-Kent. That's what's holding them back. Because right now, if they were to build, say they've got a new arena, they would fit in perfectly between Windsor and London on the 401. Sarnia, also not far. It would fit perfectly. But until I get a new arena, Chatham-Kent, a long shot at this point when it comes to expansion. I'm also listing Pickering here. They were considered a landing spot for the Oshawa Generals during their negotiations with the city. They do have their new arena lease now. It's a lengthy arena lease, so they're committed to staying in downtown Oshawa. And the plan was for a 5,000-seat arena at the Pickering Casino if the Generals were to relocate. It doesn't sound like that arena plan is still on the table for, say, expansion. It is pretty close to Oshawa. Oshawa is a big draw. They've got the history with Whitby and whatnot in that area. So I don't think Pickering would work, but they've been discussed in the past. So if Pickering wants to build that 5,000-seat arena, could they be maybe another relocation candidate or future expansion? But they're pretty low on my list as a candidate, but I thought I would mention them here. And finally, Timmins, Ontario is the last one I wanted to mention. I think it'd be great to see another team in Northern Ontario. We've already got North Bay, Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, but they need a new arena if they're going to get an OHL expansion team in the future. The MAC, it was built in 1938, and it only has a seating capacity of 1,500. So it's an older facility, and it does not have the seating capacity necessary for the Ontario Hockey League. They've hosted the multiple OHL preseason games. Actually, they have one coming up next month between the Sudbury Wolves and the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies. So they've had, OHL teams stop by for preseason games, but it's very unlikely we'll see an expansion team in Timmins, although I think it'd be great for the OHL to have another northern market. I know there'd probably be players that wouldn't necessarily want to report to a team that far north, but I think it would be helpful for especially the local community and for the players in that area that, that could have a junior club playing in their hometown. Timmins, it does have a population of just under 46,000. So it's very similar to Cornwall population-wise as a comparison. But I think Cornwall, they already have an arena. They've got their history. So I think Cornwall comes before Timmins. But I think it would be nice to see another team in Northern Ontario. It just, unless they build a new arena, it's very unlikely we see a team in Timmins. But I just wanted to mention them because I think they could, if they had a facility, a proper one. I think they could hold a team, especially when you look at the QMJHL, Rouyn-Noranda and Val-d'Or, way on the west side of their league, and they make it work. So I think why not Timmins if they had the proper facility? So that's how I see it from the booth when it comes to expansion candidates. Let me know in the comments below which city maybe I didn't mention you think would be considered as a good spot for an OHL team in the future. Love to see the interactions. I know this is a fun topic. It's all the what ifs, because then if you expand, how does realignment work? I feel as though the OHL waiting for expansion before they realign the divisions, and then that's a whole other conversation with some great debate as to how the divisions would look like if you were to add more teams to the Ontario Hockey League. So thanks again for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again soon.